Portrait of a Friendship, in Memoriam, Toni P. Brown, 11/14/1952, 4/19/2008. This essay I wrote and am reading excerpts from was originally published in Sinister Wisdom 76, the open issue, summer '09. A true friend is hard to lose. The loss is palpable, like some previously unknown core at the center of you is suddenly ripped out, howling and empty. This is how I felt when my good friend Toni Brown died on April 17th, 2008. She was 55 years old. As her Philadelphia memorial service, standing room only, at the Painter Bright Art Center confirmed, Toni was many things to many people. She was a writer of poetry and fiction, well known in the lesbian, the African American, and the larger literary communities. She was a writing teacher to college students, and she was a teacher and a mentor to the at-risk teenage girls that she worked with for the last 10 years in her position as Director of Education, Training, and Outreach for Girls Inc. Toni and I were close friends for nearly 20 years. We met several years before she moved to Philadelphia. At the time, she lived in Amherst, Massachusetts, and was a member of a Northampton lesbian writers group. We met through a mutual friend who was in the Philadelphia feminist writers group with me at the Outright Conference, an LGBT writing conference held at that time in Boston. A year or so later, my Philadelphia writing group went to Northampton to give a reading. I stayed at Toni's house in Amherst and took her large, gentle German shepherd named Zen for a walk. Zen led me into the garden at the Emily Dickinson house, where I made a reservation for the two writing groups, now one large group, at least for the duration of our stay. I remember us, all of us, sitting in the large Victorian sitting room. The drapes were drawn, and there was a hush surrounding the words of the tour guide, who carefully left out any mention of Emily's lesbian passions. We didn't contradict her, but the room was bursting with her silence. Now, reflecting back on the afternoon, I see there was something prophetic about it. We were surrounded by the ghostly presence of Emily Dickinson, even as we left and posed for pictures. At the time that the pictures were taken in the Dickinson garden, some 20 years ago, Toni had a short afro. A year later, when she moved to Philadelphia, she began locking her hair, always, it seemed, twisting the tiny nubs until they grew down below her shoulders. After Toni moved to Philadelphia to be with the love of her life, the two of us became closer. We took Zen for long walks in the Wissahickon woods. Zen the dog, as we called her, would chase sticks and squirrels, the occasional deer, as Toni and I walked and talked about our writing, our lives, our loves, walking and talking about everything. Toni came to Philadelphia to connect with her other identities. She was a Cave Canem Poetry Fellow in the years 1998, 1999, and 2000. Cave Canem was begun in 1996 as a week-long summer workshop retreat designed as a safe haven for Black poets. Toni and I read together when to return from one of these retreats, and in her poetic voice, I heard a new level of sophistication, a continuing evolvement of her work that had the feeling of a gust of air under her wings. Consider her poem Dreadlocks, published in Gathering Ground, a reader celebrating Cave Canem's first decade, University of Michigan Press, 2006. Dreadlocks. See these ropes of hair? This is how it would have grown on my head in the bowels of a ship long ago. Understand, we dark still living who crawled or were dragged hair-manna flat into this new world would have been dreadful. Toni's work was published in Sinister Wisdom, Paris Schooner, and the American Poetry Review, among other places. Her words are the quiet hush around the storm, a keen and often painful observation of detail. It's like justice in its many forms, and at the same time, a testament to love, to all that is good in the world. Her work is transcendent, just as Toni was in her life. This is Jen Mason with commentary for BookTube and Spotify.